Good evening, my name is Garrett, and welcome to The Last Call. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about my top 5 favorite finished whiskeys from 2023. This will probably be actually posting on the 1st or right thereabouts, but these are just bottles that I ran across that, while I did a top 5 bourbon and a top 5 rye, I had some amazing bottles that I wanted to talk about that were part of those groups. So I said, screw it, we're going to do a finished whiskey section as well. So strap in, pour yourself something nice to drink, become a member if you're interested, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of good stuff, and let's jump into it. Now, starting off this list is a bottle a lot of people probably never have heard of, and unless you're in the Indiana area, you probably won't ever see. And that's coming from William Rose Distillery. They're based out of Zionsville, Indiana, and this is Zombie Fuel. This is a 3-year-old bourbon aged with whole roasted coffee beans and almonds. So really cool concept on it, but at the moment I got to taste this, I fell in love with what they're doing. William Rose does a lot of big proof bottles, and when I got the opportunity to talk to Ron there at William Rose, I was really interested in a bourbon that's been aged with both coffee and almonds. It's just really cool concept. Barrel proof, 3 years old. And the funny thing is, on the nose, it is beautiful. It has not come across very bitey or strong or high ABV. You get a lot of great vanillas and caramels. That nuttiness does show up on the nose as well. It is charry and oaky. But as you keep going back, you do get almost like a freshly roasted cup of coffee. But for me, it's the expression that it is a common bourbon whiskey on the nose, but it has those deeper, rich espresso and nuttiness going on. Almost like a French oak staved finished bourbon. The coffee comes across in the taste on the forefront. You're getting this roasted, earthy, kind of chocolatey notes going on with that bit of almond going in there as well. And then you get the corn sweetness, a little bit of spice in there on the palate too. This is totally unique. And at 58% ABV, it still is an easy drinker in my opinion, especially for its 3-year age statement. Those beans really help mellow things out for a younger product to hit the shelves, but still bring across a lot of great flavors. And as you keep sipping on it, man, that almond starts showing up more and more. The roasted espresso, coffee, chocolate notes are showing up. And then you just get this nice bit of corn sweetness, bourbon-esque going on here with the oak vanilla caramels. I love how unique this one is. It came across as, is this going to be gimmicky or not? And William Rose delivered it. And honestly, that's why it's number 5 on my list. Coming at number 4 is a Scotch, and one that really surprised me. I didn't expect this place to really be able to come across the flavors that they were trying to with such a unique finishing process. And in lately times, they've been just kind of hit or miss with their special releases. And that's Ardbeg Barbecue. This bottle just shocked me because I kind of went into it with low expectations. Ardbeg here in the past couple years has been shotgunning out limited edition, and there's some criticism to that, and I respect that. And I picked this up on a whim because I was like, there's no way it's not going to bring across those notes. Because what they're trying to do is to give an inspiration to barbecue with this one. And what they're using is both a custom smoked barrel and a Pedro Jimenez sherry cask. And I'll tell you what, that is gorgeous on the color. But on the nose, it is that bit of Ardbeg. You get that kind of lemon zest, peaty, earthy smokiness to it. But the smokiness that's coming across here is more like barbecue smoke. If you have a smoker or been around one, you'll know what I'm talking about. The first time you lift up that hood and you get that big old burst of smoke rolling out, it comes across exactly like that. And I'll tell you what as well, with that Pedro Jimenez sherry cask, which is one of my favorite sherry finishes, you get those deep, rich, dark fruits like dark figs and plums. Maybe a little bit of dark red apples as well. Very fruity sweet on there. And that kind of mixes with that bit of saltiness that Ardbeg can bring across being an Islay, along with those smoky elements, almost like smoked grilled fruit on top of dark, rich red meats in a smoker. And on the taste, you get all those beautiful Isla smoky, salty sea breeze notes, bit of earthy peatiness in there as well. However, you're getting that Pedro Jimenez sherry cask, making things a little bit lighter, giving those fruit layers to kind of just liven it up a bit. And that smoked cask they're using in here really brings in more of a savory kind of smokiness to it versus the salty smoke that Islas are tend to known for. It is totally unique. And again, it just, with Ardbeg and their limited editions kind of hitting and missing for a lot of people, I did not have high expectations on this one, but they delivered really well. And as you keep going back, it gets a little sweeter, a little more fruity notes start showing up. But don't get me wrong, you're still getting a lot of that smoky, salty characteristics going on in here. And just because of those reasons, that's why it's number 4 on my list. Coming at number 3 is one of my favorite distilleries, period. I love what they do. And with the type of finishing they're using, they're really stepping out of their wheelhouse because the kind of finish is either hit or miss. And in my opinion, it was a knockout of the park. It's Balcones with their wine cask finished bourbon. Now, being that this is a 60.8% ABV and just a few years old, I think it's 3 years, 48 months old, this wine cask finish color on here is deep, rich reds, almost crimson red on there, like a dark aged rum. And honestly, on the nose, it is beautiful. You're getting a lot of this oily waxiness that a lot of your Texas whiskey is known to have. Don't get me wrong. But the wine cask finish here brings in a dark, rich red fruit note. Being that they're using both Grenache and a Cabernet cask on this one, it is just a wine, deep, rich oiliness going on here. You get a little bit of oak, vanilla, caramel, bit of charriness from the cask as well. Those are all there, but the beautiful richness from the wine casks is what really dominates the nose. And for me, it doesn't come across like a overripened fruit or anything off on that. And the taste, it brings across those deep, rich oiliness that Texas whiskeys are known for. That'll make or break you. There's a deep, rich nuttiness going on in here as well, almost like a walnut or kind of a pecan note. And then you're getting these deep, rich red fruits like berries, and you get kind of a raspberry, blueberry, blackberry going on. But as you keep letting it sit on your palate, it gets a little bit more rich and deep with the oak, vanilla, caramels going on here. In my opinion, while the wine cask is forefront, it doesn't hide the Texas whiskey underneath of it. I love the char layers they have in this one, and it mixes with that deep red fruit note as well. Give you almost like a charry apple and deep rich smoked berries going on there. Kind of like if you took a pie that had like blackberries on it and you put it in your smoker for a little bit just to add another layer of complexity going on. The flavors come across to a T. The oiliness in here, again, I love Texas whiskey. I know some people don't, but for me personally, it's an easy knockout winner for my number 3 on the list. Bravo on this one. I hope they keep it around. Coming in number 2 was a more local bottle, but they do have a fairly good distribution level outside of Indiana as well. And it's one that made me fall in love with port casks. For me personally, I tend to be a more Pedro Jimenez, where port kind of follows by the wayside for me. It's Hugh Hammer with their straight bourbon whiskey finished in port casks. Now, this is actually one of the side brands to West Fork Whiskey Company, where they're sourcing this from MGP. It's most likely the 99% corn, 1% barley bourbon, and then are finishing it in those port casks. These tend to also be single barrel, with some of them being barrel proof or darn near close. This one comes in a little over 51%. But the moment I tasted this, I fell in love because I've never had a port cask come across with such rich complexity. Even though I'm a big fan of Hugh Hammer, as you can see, and this one honestly hasn't changed a bit. It's so sweet and gentle on the nose. You're getting those beautiful fruitiness layers to the port cask. And I gotta give credit, going with the 99% corn build for a bourbon really lets the cask do the talking, which in my opinion, if you're finishing something I want to see that cask. Let me know that that cask is not just done for gimmick purposes, but it's rich, it's fruity, it's red fruits, and this deep nuttiness going on as well. A little oiliness, a little waxiness in there too. And as you keep going back, you do get a bit of the corn sweetness in here, that little bit of oak, vanilla, caramel layers, almost like a creamy custard with like a berries, almost like a berries and cream going on. But very, very approachable, simple on the nose, but very sweet and luxurious, almost like a piece of dessert from a nice restaurant. And honestly, the port cask is done to a T. It's sweet, fruity. The corn layers do show up here in the mid to late finish. However, the sweetness that brings across just doubles down, and it gives you just an extra layer and complements that port cask so well. It even has a little bit of that waxiness in there. For me, I enjoy that, especially on something like this. It's bringing across those very soft, complex notes of the vanilla, the sweet corn, and this just nice little charry layer from the cask. But then you get all the dark, rich fruit notes, the grape, the apples, the walnut nuttiness from the port cask, and they meld together to a T. It's honestly well deserving of my number 2 spot. And I'll tell you what, it fought tooth and nail for my number 1 spot, but it's a well-deserved sip if you ever get the opportunity to pick this one up. And coming in at number 1 is a bottle that just won my heart over the moment I took a sip. It's done in a cask that I'm usually not a huge fan of, but with their profile they're bringing in their whiskey and then the profile they're using with their finishing, it was an easy winner in my book. And that is from the World Whiskey Society with their straight bourbon whiskey finished in Oloroso sherry casks. This is their 6-year-old version of this one. I think they actually have a couple others out there of higher age statements, but I gotta be honest, this one just took me by surprise. And it's coming from Oklahoma, so I don't even know what distillery is doing this one. The thing I like about this one specifically is the Oloroso sherry didn't take over the bourbon. As I've said in my other ones, I really like that the cask does the talking, but for me, Oloroso sherry can go very south very quick if it's not done correctly. So you're getting a lot of those great corn sweetness, the bit of spice in here from the rye, a little bit of waxiness from the barley as well. But the Oloroso sherry here really just complements that, bringing a slight undertone of a bit of fruit, the kind of sweet apples, little pear in there, little tartness from the fruits as well. It's just an easy one on the nose. Really overall, just done to a T. Just totally a beautiful example of Oloroso sherry. That taste. Again, the Oloroso sherry didn't dominate, but it complemented the bourbon. You're getting the sweet corn layers. You're getting that deep, rich, oaky, charry layer from their cask as well. But then this fruit layer comes in and kind of lifts it up. It's almost like if you had a dense piece of cake and then there you have that little bit of fruit drizzle over the top to help you lighten it up a bit and make it a little more inviting. So you always want to go back for another piece. And that's what this is doing. Giving you both the compliments of a great bourbon, but also the deep richness of the Oloroso sherry. I just love how sweet and inviting it is on the palate, but it's a great crossover if you're looking for something sweet, but you're a bourbon aficionado that likes to keep your bourbon flavors. This combines the two, giving you the best of both worlds. They knocked it out of the park to a T, and that's why it's number 1 on my list. So yeah, there you have it, folks. The top 5 finished whiskeys I've tasted here in 2023. An amazing lineup. I could have kept going for more and more episodes because there's just so many great things I've gotten to try. If you're interested in individual reviews over these, again, they will be linked up above and down below, so you can check those out, along with my top 5 favorite ryes and favorite bourbons of 2023. And as always, if you're interested, I hope that you pull up a chair, stay for a while, become a member if you're interested, and hit that subscribe button. Either way, as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
you know, and I really like it might